Hello students, I am VLN Swarupini, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now, I would like to discuss about PCR topic, and this topic is for third year, fifth semester, biochemistry, sixth paper, that is molecular biology and recombinant DNA technology. Okay, from this paper, unit 4, we have this topic. So let's start the topic, polymerase chain reaction. Okay, the polymerase chain reaction PCR technique was developed by Kary Mullis in the year 1985. Okay, he is the scientist who developed this particular PCR technique in the year 1985. Okay. It generates quantities of DNA copies. So, by this polymerase chain reaction, from single fragment of DNA or from single DNA copy, we can produce multiples and multiples of DNA copies. That means here nothing but DNA multiplication will be carried in polymerase chain reaction. Okay. So here it multiplies one DNA copy into many number of DNA copies based on number of cycles of this PCR. Okay, it will generate quantities of DNA copies of the desired DNA or RNA segment present event as a single copy into initial preparation in a matter of few hours. Okay, that means desired DNA or RNA segment is multiplied. Okay, single copy of desired DNA or RNA is multiplied into multiple copies within a few hours. Okay, and PCR process has been completely automatic. That means here the complete process of PCR is automatic. Only the thing is we should only give the sample solution and the requirements we should add to the PCR machine. Okay, so then automatically the process will be carried. Okay, and that doesn't mean this PCR is a large and complex mission. This is a small mission. Very compact thermocyclers are also available in the market. Okay, that means PCR machines or PCR, we have different types of PCRs. Okay, in recent times we hear more about reverse transcriptase PCR. Okay, by this method of PCR, this coronavirus is detected. Okay, by reverse transcriptase PCR, this coronavirus is detected. Okay, this is a one type of PCR. Okay, RT-PCR, this is a one type of PCR. So we are discussing about the generalized PCR method. Okay, we are discussing about general PCR method. Okay, and this PCR is a completely, of course there are many types of PCRs, but any PCR mission is a automated mission, and few compact thermocyclers are also present. So here thermal cycler is nothing but we can also call this PCR as thermal cycler. We can also call this PCR polymerase chain reaction mission as thermal cycler. We call the mission as thermal cycler, and the process is carrying is polymerase chain reaction, and the PCR is carried out in vitro. That means inside It is not a external process. It is done in vitro, and if you see, it utilizes a small DNA preparation containing the desired segment of the amplified DNA. That means here DNA is used rather as a sample, okay, small fragment of DNA what we are going to multiply is used as sample here, and that particular DNA preparation is taken as the sample, and 2 nucleotide primers, okay, each of 20 base long will be taken as the complementary, specific complementary sequences. 2 nucleotide primers of 20 base long specific complementary primers to the 3' borders. That means the sequence present at the 3' end of the desired segment. Okay, so 2 nucleotide primers are used, and also obviously to amplification process. Amplification means nothing but multiplication. For amplification process, it requires deoxynucleoside triphosphates, 4-deoxynucleoside triphosphates, okay, and thymine triphosphate TTP, that means deoxythymine triphosphate DTTP, DCTP, deoxycytidine triphosphate DATP, deoxyadenosine triphosphate, and DGTP, deoxyguanosine triphosphate. Okay, so these are the 4-deoxynucleotide triphosphates. So here the components required for this PCR are also very simple. Just it requires 2 primers, okay, 2 primers for both the ends. That means this DNA is a double stranded structure, okay. So the DNA double stranded is split into single stranded, and both the single stranded DNAs will be attached to a primer, okay. That's why it requires 2 primers. So it requires a small fragment of DNA for amplification purpose, and 2 primers, and deoxynucleoside triphosphates for the development of new DNA, okay. So here these are the requirements that we should give externally to the thermal cycler, okay. And now let's see about the procedure of this PCR. Procedure of the PCR. And if you see this procedure, at the start of the PCR, the DNA from which a segment is to be amplified, an excess of 2 primer molecules, the 4-deoxyribophosphates and the DNA polymerase are mixed together in the reaction mixture. Okay, so here, before starting this PCR reaction, what we should do? Sample DNA segment which is to be amplified is taken, and 2 primer molecules, 4-deoxyribose triphosphates were added, and also the enzyme DNA polymerase which will produce DNA which will show the DNA polymerization this enzyme DNA polymerase will be added. DNA polymerase will be added to the reaction mixture. Okay, so these are the only components that we require for the PCR reaction. Okay, in the first step what will happen is, so in every step we should maintain different conditions. Okay, let's see about them. In the first step, this reaction mixture is heated at a temperature usually 90 degrees centigrade to 98 degrees centigrade. That means we should, in the first step the temperature will be very high. That means 90 degrees centigrade to 98 degrees centigrade. High temperature should be provided in the first step, and this is for the DNA denaturation purpose. Okay, as explained earlier, the DNA what we are using is double stranded DNA, and that particular double stranded DNA should be denatured and two single stranded DNA molecules should be produced. Okay, for that purpose, reaction mixture in the initial stage or in the first step, it is its temperatures are raised to around 90 degrees centigrade to 98 degrees centigrade. Okay, and it will lead to DNA denaturation. Okay, and this step we call it as denaturation step. Okay, and the time required for completion of this denaturation step is just 4 minutes. Okay, within a span of 4 minutes DNA denaturation will be achieved. That means as DNA gets denatured very rapidly at high temperatures, this step easily carried at 90 degrees centigrade to 98 degrees centigrade. Okay, and the second step is the mixture is now cooled to a temperature that is 40 to 60 degrees centigrade. Okay, so the temperatures for the second step is very low, so we should decrease the temperature. Okay, as in the first step we have taken the temperature to around 90 to 98, and in the second step we should decrease the temperature to 40 to 60 degrees. Okay, and this cooling effect will permit annealing of the primer to the complementary sequence in the DNA. So at high temperatures this particular DNA will further denature. So to avoid that, what we should do, we should reduce the temperature and cool the reaction mixture, and temperature should be maintained at 40 to 60 degrees centigrade. Okay, and by cooling of this mixture we can easily anneal the primers to the complementary sequence of the two separate DNA strands. Okay, so as the double stranded DNA is separated into two strands, each strand should be annealed. That means it should be attached to the primer. Okay, it should be attached to the primer. And the sequences are located at the 3' end of the two strands. That means complementary sequences to the primer. The DNA, double stranded DNAs, that is single stranded DNAs, will have complementary sequence for the primer at the 3' end of the two strands. That means on both the 3' ends this primer will bind. If you see the diagram, you can better understand. So this is a double stranded DNA that we have taken in the first step. Okay, and by denaturation process at 90 degrees centigrade, we have separated that double stranded into single stranded. and after that we added primers, 2 primers, and at around 40 to 60 degrees centigrade these particular primers will be attached at the 3' end of the each single stranded DNAs. Okay, so this is how first 2 steps will be carried, and here the attachment or the annealing of the primers to the complementary sequence in DNA is called as annealing. Okay, so attachment is called as annealing, and the first step is denaturation and the second step is annealing. And here the sequences are located at 3' and those 2 primers will bind to the desired segments of that particular 3' and single stranded DNA. Okay, so this is how this annealing will be carried, and this particular annealing step will be carried within less than 1 minute of time. Okay, so this is about denaturation and annealing. Now let's see the step 3. Now let's see step 3. In step 3, the temperature is now again adjusted that the DNA polymerase synthesizes the complementary strands by utilizing 3' OH groups of primers. Obviously, what we know, these primers will always donate 3' OH group for the new strand synthesis. Okay, so whenever you hear the word primer, that means this primer's major application or major importance is to provide 3' OH group for the new strand to be synthesized. Okay. So this reaction is the same as that occurs in vivo during replication of the leading strand of the DNA duplex. That means this is similar to the replication process that we see in vivo. That means inside a biological system we call it as in vivo. In vitro means outside the biological system, that is in a laboratory condition. Okay, so here what happens, this DNA polymerase will synthesize complementary strands using this 3' OH group of the primers, and this reaction is similar to that of the replication process in the leading strand of the DNA duplex that we see in vivo in the biological system. And these primers are extended towards each other so that the DNA segment lying between the 2 primers will be copied. Okay, so what happens in this step? The primers are extended towards each other so that the DNA segment lying between the 2 primers copied. Okay, if you see the diagram, so this amplification of DNA will be carried in the opposite direction towards each other. Okay, and if you see here, DNA polymerase is mentioned as Taq DNA polymerase. Here nothing but Taq DNA polymerase means this is a special kind of DNA polymerase which is isolated, which withstand high temperatures also. Okay. This DNA polymerase is specially isolated from Thermus aqueous bacteria. That's why this particular DNA polymerase can withstand little high temperatures. Okay, so that is the only difference between in vivo DNA polymerase and in vitro DNA polymerase. Here Taq DNA polymerase is used. Okay, and this is isolated from Thermus aqueous bacteria. To represent this bacteria, we simply call it as Taq DNA polymerase. Okay, and this synthesis will occur at 70 to 75 degrees centigrade. If you see the temperature, it is much higher to the normal biological system or normal human temperature. Okay, so as our body temperature will be around 45 degrees centigrade when it is under work, but DNA polymerase at this low but this particular in this PCR, the synthesis will be occurred at 70 to 75 degrees centigrade. To withstand at that particular temperature, DNA polymerase from this heat stable bacteria was isolated. Okay, that heat stable Taq DNA polymerase will be used in PCR. Okay, so the primers on both the ends will extend this DNA sequence in opposite direction towards each other. Okay, this is the third step of the polymerase chain reaction. Now let's see fourth step. So here in the fourth step, so till now one cycle of PCR amplification carried. One cycle of amplification carried. At the end of first cycle, we have got two newly synthesized DNAs, or we have and in the fourth step, the next cycle of amplification is initiated by denaturation, which separates the newly synthesized DNA strands from the old DNA strand. Okay, by completion of first cycle of the PCR, we got two double-stranded DNAs. Okay, so again for carrying one more amplification cycle, what we require is denaturation of this double-stranded DNA. So whatever the double-stranded DNAs we produced in the first cycle should be denatured to carry one more PCR cycle, and this step is denaturation step. First step is called as denaturation step. Okay, in the first step it is denaturation step, and second step is again annealing step, and third step is synthesis step, and fourth step is again denaturation step. Okay, the newly synthesized single stranded DNA is separated from the old DNA. Okay, and again annealing process will be continued for n number of times. Okay, and if you see the fifth step, annealing allows the primer to base pair with both the new and old strands. Again it will bind to new and old strands, and total number of strands being twice their original number. Okay, so in the first cycle we got 4 4 single strands, and in the second cycle will get 8 single strands. So in this manner amplification process will be carried. Okay, and based on the amount of DNA or content of DNA we are going to amplify, or the content of DNA that we require, we should fix the PCR machine for number of cycles. That means as this PCR is a automated mission, we should give for how many number of cycles this PCR should amplify the sample DNA. That particular number of cycles can also be given by us. Okay, we can fix the number of amplification cycles in PCR. Okay, and if you see this diagram, what happened from first to last, sample DNA, a double helix is denatured, and this particular denaturation is done at 90 to 98 degrees centigrade. Here it is 98 degrees. Okay, 90 to 98 degrees centigrade. And next primers will be added. That means annealing of the primers to the 3' end of the each DNA strand will be carried at 40 to 45 degrees centigrade. 40 to 60 degrees centigrade. And next, this particular annealed primers will start synthesis of DNA by using Taq DNA polymerase at 70 to 75 degrees centigrade. And finally 2 DNA strands will be produced on the opposite side of the primers, and till now one cycle completed. Okay, and finally denaturation of the old strands will be carried. Denaturation in the fourth step will be carried, and again in the fifth step what happens, again primers will be bound to each new and old strands. Okay, and in the sixth step what happens, again synthesis of new strands takes place. So again synthesis of new strands takes place, which doubles the number of copies of desired DNA segment present at the end of the step 3. Okay, so at the end of the cycle 1 we have got 4, so at the end of cycle 2 we will get 8 strands. Okay, so this is about PCR, polymerase chain reaction. Now let's see applications of this PCR. Now let's see about the applications of PCR. So what is the importance of this polymerase chain reaction in our life sciences? Okay, so basically this polymerase chain reaction has wide variety of applications. It is used for many purposes. Okay, and majorly this process of amplification is meant to multiply the desired gene. Okay, it is meant for multiplication of desired gene. Wherever the requirement of multiplication of gene is required. In all the sectors, this particular PCR is used. Majorly, if you see a small example regarding this PCR is mostly utilized in the forensic department. Okay, if you see utilization of this PCR in the forensic department, whenever a crime was done, okay, this clues team will collect clues from the crime scene. Okay, during the process they might come across with sources of DNA. Okay, that particular DNA source might be of culprit or of the victim. So to identify or to solve that particular case, what they'll do, they'll collect the DNA sources like hairs or skin, any skin material or anything from that crime scene. Okay, and to verify or to analyze the case, what they should do, they should analyze the DNA. So they'll have only the very small minute fragment of the DNA source. Okay, they don't have the DNA directly, they'll have the DNA source in the form of hair follicles or in the form of a small skin pieces or anything. They'll have a very minute samples. Then what they'll do, they immediately separate the DNA sample and they'll amplify that particular DNA so that they can carry different types of test and analysis on the DNA, and they can identify whether that particular DNA is to the victim or to the culprit, and based on that DNA identification they can clear the case by knowing more about the DNA that they got in the crime scene. Okay, so just this is one example for the application of PCR, for the application of this PCR in forensic. In the same manner, we have wide variety of applications regarding this PCR. Now let's see all of them. Okay, this PCR can be used to amplify a specific gene present in different individuals of a species. Okay, this can amplify a specific gene present in different individuals of a species. That means if we take Homo sapiens, we are one species of organisms. Of course, we are also animals, but we are a social animal. Okay, and our scientific name is Homo sapiens, and we have in Homo sapiens there are thousands and thousands of different individuals. Okay, and this particular PCR can amplify specific gene. That means if I have a specific gene responsible for the hair growth, and in the same manner you will have a specific gene responsible for the hair growth. So this PCR can amplify both genes. Okay, both genes responsible for hair growth of two different individuals. Okay, and even in different somatic cells or of different gametes. Okay, so whatever the difference it might be, if it is a individual difference or it is a somatic cell difference or a gamete difference, whatever the difference it might be, but this PCR can amplify any specific gene. Okay, and these copies can be used to clone. Okay, these copies of multiplication can be used in different varieties of experiments, and these copies can be cloned easily. So whatever the genes multiplied using this PCR can be easily And PCR has been used to study DNA polymerization in the genome using noun sequence as primers. Okay, and this PCR can be used to study DNA polymorphism. Okay, we can study DNA polymorphism in the genome of any individual using noun sequence of primers. Okay, that means if we take a noun sequence of primer, if that primer is able to amplify that particular DNA in the sample, by that we can study the DNA polymorphism in the genome. Okay, and synthetic nucleotides of any sequence can be used as random primers to amplify polymeric DNAs having sequences specific to primers used. Okay, so whatever the synthetic nucleotides of any sequence, it can be used as random primer. Okay, noun sequence means nothing but any synthetic nucleotide can be easily used as random primer to amplify polymorphic DNA. Okay, this polymorphic DNA can be amplified using these primers. Okay, and this will lead to uh, proper amplification. Okay, so whenever this synthetic nucleotide is used as random primer, it will be able to amplify this polymorphic DNA, and only the sequence specific to that primer will be amplified. Okay, and PCR can be used to detect the presence of a transgene transferred into an organism by using the end sequences of the transgene for amplification of DNA from the transgenic organism. Okay, so when we have different types of transgenic organisms. Okay, that means transgenic organisms are developed by uh, transferring a gene of interest or gene of a special interest character into that particular organism. uh, if we develop, we call it as transgenic organism. Okay, we have different types of transgenic organisms, and from all that transgenic organisms, amplification of DNA from this transgenic organism can also be achieved to detect the transgene transfer. That means while conducting an experiment on this transgenic organism, that means when a scientist is developing a transgenic organism, so in that process he can identify, or the he can detect the transgene which he introduced into the organism by using this PCR, and he can check whether that particular gene of interest is properly transferred or not. Okay, and DNA amplification of individual sperms is used to estimate the frequency of recombination between specific genes. Okay, here uh, amplification of uh, individual sperms. Okay, this can be uh, done to know the frequency of recombination between specific genes. Okay, so based on studies on this sperm using PCR, we can identify recombinations between the genes. Okay, between here how this X chromosomes and Y chromosomes are recombination is being done between this X and Y chromosomes can be identified using this studies of PCR on sperm. And also PCR can be used to determine the sex of embryos. Okay, that means whether that particular embryo formed is for a girl child or for a boy child. This can be detected by using PCR. That means gender of the fetus can be easily identified using this PCR. Apart from all these applications, this PCR is widely used in the forensic department. Okay, so to in the identification of culprits and to solve many cases, this PCR is a wonderful tool in the forensic department. Okay, to identify or to amplify genetic material which is uh, available in the crime scene, and by uh, the sample which is taken from the crime scene can be easily matched with different kinds of different uh, genetic information with the database in the police department. So by this matching of DNA from crime scene and from the database, we can easily identify the criminal. Okay, and also in few important cases, this PCR will be helpful as a breakthrough. So this is all about PCR and its applications. Okay, if you have any doubts, please contact me, and please listen to the class for 1 to 2 times. Hope you are enjoying the classes. Thank you, students.